In addition to being able to import your own projects, you can also import projects that include sample code from Google. You can do this from the welcome screen by clicking Import an Android Code Sample. There are many samples available. Some of them date back to really old versions of Android, but some of them are completely new. For example, if I want to work with fingerprints, that would always be with the latest version of Android, because fingerprint support was only added in Android 6. I'll type some text and locate the project I'm interested in. You can either go ahead and import it immediately, or you can click the link Browse Source in GitHub. Now, before you try to import this, you might need to install Git on your computer. On Mac, you should already have it installed if you're using a recent version of OS X. On Windows, it won't be installed automatically, and so you might want to go get that software. But if you have any trouble importing this way, you can again go directly to GitHub, and then you can download the project as a zip file from there. But I'll continue with the Android Studio way. I'll click Next, and then I'll indicate where I want to install the project, and I'll place it once again in my Android Studio Projects folder, and I'll click Finish. It'll take a moment to download the project. If this particular project has any dependencies that you don't already have installed on your computer, Android Studio will download those dependencies in the background, and so it might take a little bit of time to complete the import process. So, step away from the computer, and then come back in a few minutes, and you can pick up from there. Now, to demonstrate this application, I'm going to use a virtual device. So I'll go to the AVD Manager, and I'll fire up my virtual device right now. The device to start up. But once it's started up, I'll go back to Android Studio, and then run the app. And I'll be sure to use the virtual and not the physical device, so we can see what happens when I simulate a fingerprint touch. Once the app comes to the screen, I'll do a little bit of setup on the virtual device. I'll go to my Settings dialog, and from there I'll go to Security, and then I'll click on Fingerprint, and then I'll click Continue to unlock with Fingerprint. I'll need to set up a backscreen lock method. So, I'll set up a PIN number. I'll use a non-secure PIN number because this is just a virtual device of 1111. Don't do this on your actual physical device. I'll click Done, and now I'm ready to deal with the fingerprint sensor. I'll click Next, and then I'll click the three dots on the menu, and I'll click Fingerprint here. I'll move this off to the side so I can see what happens in the app, and I'll click Touch Sensor, and that registers my fingerprint. I'll close this dialog, and then in the virtual device I'll click Done, and then I'll click the back button a couple times, and that takes me back to my application. Now, to really see what's going to happen, I'll exit the app, then I'll go to my app list, and I'll locate and touch the Fingerprint Dialog app, and I'll click Purchase. I see the prompt to confirm the fingerprint to continue. Once again, I'll go to my Extended Controls, I'll select Fingerprint, and touch the sensor, and I get the message that the fingerprint was recognized. So along the way, we've seen a way to use the emulator to do something you couldn't do easily before, simulating a fingerprint touch. But the important thing here is that it's very easy to import a sample app from GitHub using Android Studio, and then use the sample code in that app to build your own Android applications.